Have you ever sat across from someone you thought you knew, and felt deep down that something wasn't right? The smile was there, the words were right, the tone was perfect, but inside you felt it, a tension, a shift, an invisible crack between what was said and what was real. Have you ever hit a milestone, built something you were proud of, and instead of celebration, you were met with silence, awkward glances, polite applause that faded too fast? If you have, you're not alone. Because leadership, real leadership, isn't just about building companies. It's about learning to read the signs, to guard your mission, and to lead even when the people closest to you start to change. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If anyone can refute me, show me I'm making a mistake or looking at things from the wrong perspective, I'll gladly change." It's the truth I'm after. And the truth is this: success changes you, but it also reveals others. And if you don't see it early, it won't just cost you friendships, it will cost you everything you've built. Before we dive in, if you've ever trusted someone and later realized the signs were there all along, take a moment. Drop a comment below. Write, "I see it now." Today, we're going to talk about the 8 hidden signs every leader must recognize if you want to survive the climb and protect what matters most. Let's begin. Number 1, wake up from complacency, a leader's first discipline. In leadership, the greatest threat rarely comes from the competitors you can see. It comes from the betrayal you never expected, from the people you once trusted most. It's not the obvious battles that cost leaders their companies, their credibility, or their peace of mind. It's the subtle signs they ignored. Marcus Aurelius once warned, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." But calmness isn't naivety. True calmness demands vigilance, the self-discipline to notice what others miss, and the courage to act before the damage is done. Take Howard Schultz, the man who rebuilt Starbucks into a global empire. Early in his journey, Schultz faced an internal rebellion, executives who smiled in meetings, but quietly delayed decisions, undermined initiatives, poisoned momentum. Schultz didn't react emotionally. He didn't lash out. He observed. He sharpened his focus, stayed calm, stayed patient. And when the moment was right, he acted. A clean, decisive reorganization. Starbucks survived and thrived because Schultz understood one truth: hidden disloyalty always wears a mask of civility. This is the leadership lesson most men never learn until it's too late. You're not betrayed when someone finally turns against you. You're betrayed the moment you feel the inconsistencies and you ignore them. Leadership isn't about blind trust. It's about earned trust, tested, proven, over time. Epictetus said it best: "Don't just say you have read books. Show that through them you have learned to think differently." In leadership, don't just say you trust people. Show that you have the discipline to observe them objectively, without resentment, but without illusions. Jeff Bezos knew this well. At Amazon, he built a culture where debate was encouraged, where disagree and commit was a badge of honor, because he understood surface-level harmony is dangerous if it hides deeper rot. Bezos didn't just innovate, he protected the mission from silent sabotage. As a leader today, your mission is clear: not to become paranoid, but to become aware, to see what others don't, to catch the glance, the hesitation, the subtle shift before it grows into betrayal. Leadership isn't about avoiding betrayal completely. It's about becoming the kind of disciplined leader who sees it early, who acts with calm, strategic clarity. Because the truth is simple, what you tolerate in silence today will destroy your mission tomorrow. Number 2, hidden sabotage. Not all threats announce themselves with a warning. The most dangerous ones don't come from rivals across the battlefield. They come from the people standing right next to you. Hidden sabotage is subtle. It's the forgotten email, the delayed message, the accidental mistake, right when it mattered most. And the worst part? It's wrapped in an apology, a smile, a shrug, as if nothing happened at all. Seneca once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." In leadership, the ambitions of those around you matter just as much as your own. When ambition twists into envy, fear, resentment, sabotage begins. Think about Satya Nadella, CEO of Microsoft. When Nadella took over, Microsoft was a giant, but also a battlefield. Internal factions competed, withheld information, undercut each other for power. Nadella didn't just bring new products, he brought a new discipline, cultural awareness. He spotted the sabotage patterns early. He refused to let passive-aggressive behaviors hide behind political correctness. Nadella enforced radical transparency. He made it clear success would be shared, or there would be no success at all. Microsoft's comeback didn't start with better technology. It started with stronger leadership, the discipline to expose the invisible rot. Hidden sabotage doesn't always look like betrayal. Sometimes it just looks like someone forgetting critical details, or giving advice that sounds helpful, but quietly steers you off course. At first, you forgive, you excuse, you tell yourself it's just stress, bad timing, human error, until the pattern becomes impossible to ignore, until you realize the missed opportunities, the reputational damage, the setbacks weren't accidents. They were engineered. A disciplined leader trains themselves to spot these patterns early, not with paranoia, but with precision. You build systems to verify information. You foster a culture where mistakes are corrected, but patterns of neglect are confronted. You don't lash out emotionally. You don't make accusations without evidence. You simply observe, you document, you act. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In leadership, you cannot always control the loyalty of others, but you can control your vigilance, your self-discipline, your standards. If someone near you consistently forgets critical facts, if they deliver half-truths at key moments, if they always seem to miss their responsibility when the stakes are high, it's not bad luck. It's a silent attack on your mission. Great leaders don't just inspire, they defend. They defend the clarity of communication. They defend the integrity of the team. They defend the future they are building, not just from competitors outside, but from weaknesses inside. Because in leadership, your enemies don't always storm the gates. Sometimes they hold the keys. Self-discipline is not just your armor, it's your X-ray vision. It lets you see what others miss and act before the damage becomes irreversible. Remember, small sabotage ignored today becomes a collapse tomorrow. Hidden sabotage doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't wear enemy colors. It wears a smile, a handshake, an apology. In leadership, what you overlook today becomes the weakness that collapses everything tomorrow. Self-discipline isn't just how you lead others. It's how you protect what you're building, even from the threats standing right beside you. Now let me ask you, have you ever sensed sabotage, but second-guessed yourself? Drop a comment below, share your experience, or simply write, "Trust your instincts." Because sometimes, trusting your instincts is the leadership decision that saves everything. Number 3, silent competition. There's a kind of competition that's never spoken out loud. It happens in the glances, the comparisons, the subtle shifts in tone when you succeed. It's the quiet resentment of those who can't celebrate your wins, because deep down, they see your progress as their defeat. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." In leadership, in life, the difference is everything. The undisciplined leader chases validation. They measure themselves by how much louder they are than others, how much faster, how much richer. But the disciplined leader, he knows better. He knows that true leadership is an inner scorecard, not an outer one. Look at Jeff Bezos. When Amazon started, he faced endless silent competitors, bookstores mocking him, investors doubting him, insiders laughing behind closed doors. Bezos didn't waste time trying to win arguments. He stayed focused, obsessively focused, not on what others thought, but on what he was building. While others competed for applause, he competed for reality. Today, Amazon isn't just a company, it's an empire, built not by reacting to critics, but by ignoring them. Silent competition is one of the oldest traps for leaders. Someone shares your win, and instead of congratulating you, they counter with their own story. You land a client, and they mention someone bigger. You make a breakthrough, and they minimize it, shift the conversation back to themselves. At first, it feels small, petty, but over time, it can pull you off course. If you let it. Because silent competition invites you to waste your energy, to turn your mission into a comparison, to measure your journey with someone else's flawed ruler. That's why self-discipline isn't just about working harder. It's about protecting your mental space, about refusing to engage in battles that don't move your mission forward. Seneca put it clearly, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom and leadership are choices. Daily, deliberate, disciplined. When you sense silent competition around you, don't react with pride. Don't react with anger. React with clarity. Remember, your race is with yourself. If someone competes with you, that's their weakness. If you compete with them, that's yours. Stay locked on your mission. Build what matters. Refine your craft. Grow your vision. And let your results, not your reactions, speak. Because in leadership, you don't win by outshining others. You win by outlasting them. Focus is your power. Self-discipline is your shield. Clarity is your advantage. Every second you spend worrying about silent competitors is a second you're not investing in the only thing that matters, becoming undeniable. Number 4, superficial support. In leadership, loyalty isn't declared, it's revealed. Anyone can offer smiles when the cameras are rolling. Anyone can offer praise when it costs them nothing but true support. Real loyalty. It shows up when the stakes are high, when there's no applause, when there's no advantage to be gained. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The same is true for loyalty. Stop waiting for promises. Watch the patterns, because patterns never lie. Howard Schultz understood this lesson the hard way. When Starbucks hit turbulent waters, it wasn't the loudest supporters who stayed. It was the quiet, consistent ones. The partners who showed up early, who stood by the mission when media headlines screamed failure, who doubled down when others faded out. Schultz learned, words are easy. Consistency is rare. As a leader, It's tempting to believe the best in everyone, to hear the congratulations, the high fives, the "I've got your back" speeches, and assume you're surrounded by loyalty. But self-discipline demands a higher standard. Self-discipline reminds you, real support doesn't talk, it acts. Pay attention. When you succeed, who shows up genuinely happy and without making it about themselves? When you struggle, who leans in, not for credit, not for control, but to truly help? The answers are there, in the small moments most people overlook. Seneca once warned, "It is quality rather than quantity that matters." In your leadership journey, you don't need more voices around you. You need clearer ones, more grounded ones, more real ones. Superficial support is a cancer. It creates a false sense of security. It flatters your ego until the day you realize you're standing alone. A disciplined leader builds a different radar. They listen carefully, not just to what's said, but to what's done. They don't react to applause. They don't get drunk on praise. They stay calm, observant, selective. When success comes, they watch who claps and who watches. When failure hits, they watch who steps closer and who disappears. Leadership is not about inspiring temporary loyalty. It's about building an ecosystem where trust is earned daily, where people are drawn not by incentives, but by belief in the mission, where character matters more than charisma. If you want to lead at the highest level, you must develop the self-discipline to resist being fooled by surface loyalty. You must dare to look deeper, to trust your instincts when something feels off, to invest in those who prove their commitment over time, not overnight. Because in leadership, the people who celebrate you today could be the ones who abandon you tomorrow, unless you know how to read the difference. Self-discipline protects you. It keeps your circle sharp. It builds a foundation that storms can't shake. In the end, remember this: real loyalty whispers, fake loyalty shouts. You will hear the truth if you learn to listen beneath the noise. Number 5, control disguised as caring. Most people think the biggest threats to leadership come from open opposition, hostile takeovers, aggressive critics, direct confrontation. But the truth is, the most dangerous threats often come wrapped in concern, in advice that sounds helpful, in voices that say they're protecting you, while subtly steering you away from your mission. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Be tolerant with others, but strict with yourself," meaning be gracious outwardly, but guard your internal sovereignty like a fortress. In leadership, not every hand that reaches out is trying to help. Some are trying to control, and control doesn't always look like domination. Sometimes it looks like, "I'm just trying to help you," or "Trust me, I know better." Leadership demands self-discipline to tell the difference. Think about Satya Nadella's early days at Microsoft. When he stepped into the CEO role, voices from every corner told him what he should do. Preserve the old business models, stick with tradition, play it safe. On the surface, it sounded like wisdom, care, experience. But Nadella knew better. He didn't just hear their words. He felt the subtle pull away from his vision, away from innovation, away from the future Microsoft needed. He chose to listen, but not obey. He honored their experience, but stayed true to his own strategic compass. And because he protected his leadership sovereignty, he transformed Microsoft into a $2 trillion giant. Here's the hard truth most leaders learn too late. Not every mentor is trying to empower you. Not every advisor wants you free. Some want you obedient, dependent, small enough to manage. And if you don't build the discipline to trust your own judgment, you'll find yourself living someone else's version of success, not your own.
Epictetus said it simply, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom in leadership doesn't mean rejecting all advice. It means filtering advice through the lens of your mission, not your emotions. It means asking, does this strengthen my clarity or cloud it? Does this make me more capable or more dependent? Control disguised as caring is a slow erosion. It chips away at your decision-making. It second-guesses your instincts. It binds your future to someone else's fears. Disciplined leaders see it early. They welcome input. They consider feedback, but they never surrender their authority over their own mind. Because in leadership, you are responsible not just for outcomes, but for direction. You carry the compass. You set the course. And the cost of handing that compass to someone else is everything. Self-discipline is what keeps that compass steady. It's what keeps you grounded, while the voices around you pull in different directions. Remember, the greatest act of leadership is not controlling others. It's refusing to be controlled yourself.
Leadership isn't just steering the ship, it's protecting the compass. And sometimes, the hands that reach for it aren't trying to guide you. They're trying to control you. Self-discipline isn't about rejecting advice. It's about knowing which voices sharpen your clarity and which ones cloud it. Because in leadership, losing your direction is far more dangerous than facing any enemy. Now let me ask you, have you ever felt someone's help pulling you off course? Drop a comment below, even a simple "stay the course." Because real leadership isn't about being liked. It's about being free. Number 6, gossip and criticism. Leadership doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes quietly through whispers, through conversations you're not invited to, through criticisms, too soft to confront but sharp enough to cut. Most leaders think they'll be attacked head-on, but the truth is, reputation is usually destroyed behind closed doors, long before the battlefield ever opens. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you seek tranquility, do less. Or do what's essential, and do it well." And essential to leadership is guarding your integrity like your life depends on it. Because it does. Look at Howard Schultz. When he fought to reclaim Starbucks during its darkest days, he didn't just battle falling profits. He battled the rumors, the murmurs in boardrooms, the second-guessing from former allies. Some said he was out of touch, too emotional, too attached to an old vision. But Schultz didn't react emotionally. He didn't lash out. He didn't get dragged into the mud. He responded with discipline. He stayed steady. He recentered the company's mission around connection, authenticity, and experience. The very things his critics said were obsolete. He didn't fight gossip with gossip. He fought it with action, results, proof. In leadership, your reputation isn't built by speeches. It's built by how you behave. When you're doubted, when your back is turned, when your name is tossed around like cheap currency. Seneca warned us, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. And just as importantly, protect yourself from those whose only contribution is corrosion. Gossip is emotional warfare. It weaponizes half-truths. It recruits the insecure. It spreads fastest when the leader loses control, not of the team, but of themselves. A disciplined leader doesn't panic when rumors swirl. They tighten communication. They make decisions even more transparent. They live their values louder, not in anger, in relentless clarity. Howard Schultz didn't spend months arguing with critics. He spent months rebuilding stores, retraining partners, doubling down on what made Starbucks unbreakable. And slowly, the noise faded. The truth became undeniable. The turnaround spoke louder than any defense ever could. In your leadership journey, remember this. It's not if people will gossip about you. They will. The real question is, will you be so disciplined, so unshakable, that their words crumble against the reality you're building? Because in leadership, it's not what they say that defines you. It's what you prove. Number 7, lack of joy in your success. There's a cold truth about leadership. Few are willing to say out loud. When you start succeeding, when you start rising higher than the crowd, not everyone will cheer for you. In fact, many won't. Some will grow distant. Some will criticize quietly. And some will resent you for daring to outgrow them. Most people think success brings more support, more friends, more loyalty. But real success? It reveals who was only with you when you were easy to compete with. Seneca said it best. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. And nothing exposes craving, envy, insecurity, faster than your success shining a light on someone else's frustration. Leadership demands emotional self-reliance, because if your confidence depends on applause, if your peace depends on approval, you've already lost control of your journey. Take Jeff Bezos. In the early days of Amazon, every small victory he earned, faster shipping, better logistics, customer obsession, was met not just with competition, but with contempt. People in the tech industry laughed, said he was reckless, said he was naive. Even some inside his own circles questioned him. And when Amazon started pulling ahead, when the impossible began happening, the criticism didn't disappear. It grew sharper, more subtle, more personal. Bezos didn't crumble. He didn't fight for acceptance. He leaned deeper into his vision. He built the muscles every real leader must build, the ability to stay grounded, even when those closest to you stop clapping. Because here's the truth, if you need their approval to keep moving, they control your pace. If you need their celebration to feel worthy, they control your confidence. Disciplined leaders don't chase validation. They anchor themselves in something deeper: purpose, mission, self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them knows anything about the subject." And when it comes to your vision, most won't truly understand it. They weren't given your blueprint. They weren't assigned your mission. Leadership is lonely not because you're doing it wrong, but because you're doing it right. Real success demands shedding the need for universal approval. It demands learning how to celebrate your own wins, even when the room is silent, even when the people you thought would stand beside you quietly drift away. Your mission deserves a stronger foundation than applause. It deserves the kind of inner strength that doesn't tremble when praise is absent, or when criticism gets loud. Because in the end, you don't lead to be celebrated. You lead to create something that will last long after the applause dies. Number 8, nonverbal betrayal. No one tells you this when you first step into leadership. They tell you to listen to words, to track numbers, to manage teams, but they don't tell you that the real danger rarely speaks. It moves, it shifts, it leaks out in glances, silences, energy you can't explain but you can feel. No one tells you. That betrayal doesn't show up with a declaration. It shows up in the hesitation before a handshake, in the stiffness during a meeting, in the forced smile that disappears the second you look away. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And no matter how carefully people paint over it, the truth bleeds through. Disciplined leaders don't just hear conversations, they read the room. They trust the instincts sharpened by hard experience, the ones that whisper, "Something's wrong," before the facts ever catch up. Leadership isn't about catching liars. It's about sensing shifts before those shifts break your mission in ways you can't repair. Jeff Bezos understood this. In Amazon's high-stakes meetings, he didn't just evaluate ideas. He evaluated energy, posture, tone. He watched who leaned in with excitement and who folded their arms in hidden resistance. He noticed the flashes of resentment when success was discussed, and the subtle withdrawal when pressure was applied. Bezos didn't accuse without proof. He didn't let paranoia run wild, but he didn't ignore the patterns either. He logged them, he cross-checked them, and when the evidence aligned, he acted decisively, long before visible conflict erupted, because great leaders know the body reveals what the mouth conceals. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. To lead well, you first have to choose the kind of leader you will be. A leader who stays asleep until betrayal explodes, or a leader who stays awake to the first tremors of shifting loyalty. Self-discipline sharpens intuition. It trains you to trust your perceptions, not emotionally, not reactively, but strategically. When you sense tension, you don't accuse. You observe deeper. You set small traps of accountability. You let reality reveal itself, while you stay calm, collected, controlled. Because leadership isn't won by force. It's won by awareness. If you can see the shift before others even realize it's happening, you win. In the end, remember, words deceive, but energy never lies. The disciplined leader doesn't just listen with ears. He listens with instincts. He watches with eyes sharpened by experience. And he protects his mission, not by force, but by foresight. Leadership isn't built in the spotlight. It's forged in the silent moments. When you notice the tension in a handshake, when you sense the loyalty slipping behind a polite smile, when you realize success doesn't just change your life, it reveals the hidden truths around you. The deeper you climb in business, the less you can afford to lead blindly. Your instincts become your early warning system. Your self-discipline becomes your armor, and your ability to act with clarity before problems explode becomes your greatest competitive edge. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." In business, it's the same. You won't glide through leadership. You'll wrestle through it, moment by moment, against unseen forces that test your clarity, your resilience, and your mission. But if you stay awake, if you stay disciplined, no rumor, no hidden resentment, no silent sabotage can stop you. Now let me ask you, which of the 8 hidden signs hit closest to home for you? Drop a comment below. I'd love to hear what resonated, because awareness isn't just power for you, it sharpens everyone in this community. And if you found value today, don't forget, like, subscribe, and share this message with another leader who refuses to be blindsided. Stay sharp, stay sovereign, stay undeniable.